Thank you, Commissioner Franks. Thank you for your leadership, and I appreciate your invitation to your annual meeting. It's delighted to be here. This is the first occasion I've been able to greet you as governor. So I've worked hard for that for a long time, and I'm delighted to have this occasion. First, I want to talk in my time here today, and I think if I move over here, you can still catch me on the screen, so this will work. I want to talk about the excitement of the economic growth and the opportunities that we have here in the state of Arkansas. And first of all, I think the financial services sector is a huge part of our environment for economic growth and our future, and I want to congratulate you for what you've been able to do during very difficult regulatory environment that I hope will eventually change. But I applaud you for what you've done to contribute to our economy here, to looking to be able to support our businesses here, our venture capital. So I appreciate what the banking community has done. Since I've been governor, we've had a legislative session, but we've also had a great opportunity to announce job openings and really to emphasize economic growth opportunities in this state. On one day, I was in Clarksville, where they had an expansion of Bear Brand Hosiery, a manufacturing facility that came back from Honduras. That's a great manufacturing success in Arkansas, returning things from overseas back to Arkansas. The same day, I go down to Conway, and they have three knowledge-based announcements to make. One of them was Big Cloud Analytics, I believe it is. Great three small businesses that are in the big data space that really reflect our opportunities in Arkansas in that arena. And then I go over to Helena, West Helena. Now, it's just exciting to go over there for any announcement. But to go over there for Envirotech, which is a California-based company that set up really the first facility along the port in Helena, West Helena, is a great sign of turning the page and turning the tide in a very tough part of the state, Phillips County. So I applaud their leadership, their commitment, and the investment and the ability to attract that industry there that I hope is the beginning of some good things there. You go down to South Arkansas, and the enormous investment of the private sector in El Dorado gets you excited about that community. Our AEDC, under the new leadership of Mike Preston, went down to Magnolia and had their meeting there. Tourism is doing well in the state of Arkansas. From Crystal Bridges to what they're doing in El Dorado, tourism is a big part of the equation in this state, the number 2 industry that sometimes is neglected. And agriculture. We've had some good years in agriculture, but you worry a little bit about the new farm bill and their new method of payments, doing away with the direct payments and the impact that that will have on the agricultural community. But to the credit of our farmers, they're adjusting. They are going to make lemonade out of this, and I think they're going to be able to continue to progress in the economy, but it's something that you've got to keep an eye on. You could go on and on down our economic sectors. But fundamentally, to grow as a state, and I think that is really the objective. You know how I ran. I ran as the jobs governor because if you can grow our economy, if you can expand our job base, if you can increase the economic output of our citizens, then you're going to be able to build better schools, you're going to be able to pay your teachers more, you're going to have a better opportunity to fund your highways, you're going to be able to address your prison and public safety issues more effectively. So to me, you define success by growing the economy. That is what makes a difference in your community, and that's what makes a difference for me as governor. And you start out with the right philosophy. And I brought to this office the philosophy that a competitive tax structure in Arkansas, combined with a more favorable regulatory environment, added to an effective education system and an efficient government, is the right environment to grow the economy in this state, and it's the right signal to send to those businesses that might be looking at Arkansas. And we, through the legislative session and with the support of our General Assembly partners, did exactly that. We, first of all, the first thing out of the chute, we lowered our income tax rate for middle income folks making between $20,000 and $75,000 in income. Really the largest reduction of the income tax rate in Arkansas since the income tax started, or as I say, in Arkansas's history. Lowering from 7% to 6% if you're in that category, and if you're in a lower category, from 6% to 5%. When I go to the manufacturing facility in Clarksville, I ask the workers and ask the CEO, how does this impact your workers? And it is right in the sweet spot of our economy. It's that worker that's trying to make ends meet. And whenever you have the impact of about $500 more in their pocket every year, that's enough for a good Arkansas Parks vacation, or it's enough for a good new set of tires, or for a better Christmas, that makes a difference to the average Arkansan. You combine that with lower fuel prices, that puts more money in their pocket every week, combined with what I love seeing is our retailers like Walmart raising the wage rate, not through government action, but through their own initiative, and because they want to be competitive. All of a sudden, the average Arkansan has more money in their pocket, and guess what they're going to do with that? I know you'd love to see them save it, but they're going to spend it. And when they spend it, it's going to help our Main Street businesses, it's going to drive our economy. That is a philosophy that I take to the governor's office that will grow our economy. We also have to reduce the burden of regulations. And so one of the first things that I did as governor was to sign an executive order that says all the regulations that might come out of our agencies must come through DF&A to the governor's office to sign off on. Now, it's simply a check and balance, but believe it or not, I actually, after my staff reviews those, take the new regulations home and review them. Now, it just, you put and they're doing a good job. In Arkansas, we've got a good history, but I want to make sure that we're passing common sense regulations and we're not overburdening business. So it's a signal from the governor's office to our agencies, let's be careful in what we do in overregulating. The second thing you do is to put the right people in place. And so we have a new head of ADEQ, our Environmental Protection Agency, that came from a private sector background, Becky Keogh, that understands business, understands the economy, but understands the importance of protecting our environment. The right balance in our regulatory agency. You go down the line from our PSC to people I've put into position that understand my philosophy. And your regulations come from Washington, but I'm glad that the legislature in this last session did deregulate ATM fees for those in Arkansas that are Arkansas-based banks. Now, that doesn't mean we like high ATM fees, but it means philosophically, let's let the marketplace drive it. And so when I go into the Capitol, and I hope I'm not picking on anybody, but I go to an ATM machine in the Capitol and I put in my card to get my $200 back and I see $3 fee, I pull my card out and I go elsewhere. That's the consumer choice, and we need to exercise that, but let's deregulate it when we can. And so that's a philosophy that we put into place. It takes an effective education system. And I am delighted to say that I have not only campaigned on computer coding in every high school, but we passed legislation that said we're going to mandate it to be taught in every high school. And I know the first thing you thought whenever I said mandate, you said, well, who's paying for that? Well, the answer is I don't like unfunded mandates either, so we said it's got to be taught in every high school in Arkansas, but we're also going to provide it free from the Department of Education through digital learning so that whether you're a rural school in Magnet Cove or whether you're an urban school, you will have free access to a very important computer science programs for the students so that it can be offered in every high school, and it will be offered free of charge. And so we have placed that into operation, and you say, well, what difference is that going to make? And I love talking to the students. And this week I started off the computer science tour going through 10 high schools in Arkansas before school is out. And I've been to Rogers, Springdale. I went down to Fort Smith Northside. I'll be in Mayflower next week. I'll be in Conway. I'll be going down to Monticello, up to Jonesboro and Paragould. So we're covering a lot of high schools. But when we go into those high schools, well, I tell the students that we can mandate it to be taught in every high school and offered, but we can't mandate a student to take it. It's a choice that they have. And I'm telling you this because each of you have got students, you're on school boards, you're involved in your community, and I want you to understand how important this is. And so, nationally, only 1 out of 10 high schools in America even offer computer science. Arkansas is not behind. And I love it when I'm interviewed by Wired Magazine out of New York. And Wired Magazine calls me up and asks this question: Governor, can you explain why Arkansas is leading the nation in a comprehensive computer science program? And I just paused and I absorbed the moment that they asked that question. Who cares about my answer? They asked the question. And in fact, we're ahead of Virginia, we're ahead of California because we're the first state to offer this in every high school, mandated. But we're not saying to every student, you've got to take it. And so my goal over 4 years is that we will have up to 20% of our students, and it'll take us a while to get there, 20% of our students will actually take computer programming. And I tell them that you might want to be a banker, but just as the gentleman before me spoke, said technology is the key to making your banks efficient and to make them consumer friendly and serving the public. And so technology is a key part, and computer programming a key part of your industry. If you're in the ag business, you want to make sure you have the right amount of water distribution, so it's computer software that governs that. You have technology that dictates how you level the land. It's technology in agriculture. In manufacturing, it's robotics. I went through Falcon Jet here just this week. Extraordinary company that's expanding. It's such a pride for Arkansas that every foreign purchaser of a Falcon Jet flies to Little Rock, Arkansas to receive their purchase. They're introduced to our state, but as you go through there, they have upholstery. Not a complicated business, but the upholstery employees there in the shop at Falcon Jet are utilizing computer-assisted drawings and have to be familiar with that in order for them to get the job done. So manufacturing it is needed. As someone said, computer coding is the secret sauce of entrepreneurs. And we can create our own environment of entrepreneurs in this state whenever we have the skills to code computers, develop software, retain our businesses, and build our businesses here. And if we reach my goal of 20% of our students taking computer science in high school and graduating from that high school, that means that 6,000 computer programmers will enter our economy every year in Arkansas. That's an exciting prospect for this state. And so we're conducting that. And then another part of the environment of economic growth is efficiency. And this is not something that you can legislate. It's something that you try to teach every day. And it's a challenge. But we have new people in place, and I'm pretty excited whenever one of my directors comes to me and says, we looked at the organizational chart of our agency, and it looks like we can eliminate 2 deputy director positions without impacting our mission. That's a saving annually of $400,000 with a couple other positions there. Over 10 years, that's $4 million saving for the taxpayers. That's one agency. If you can get every agency director thinking in terms of efficiency in the delivery of government services, then we're going to save taxpayers money as well. So those are a couple of things that I'm working on that I believe is going to help grow our economy in this state. Part of it is about planting seeds. I promised on the first day in office that I would make calls as governor to 6 out-of-state prospects and see if they'd be willing to come to Arkansas and do business. And I got sworn in on a Tuesday. I made these calls on Wednesday. And typical sales calls, just like you do. Some are good, some are bad. I made one call to someone who could not speak English. A little bit tough of a sales call, but we're going to follow up with them. But then you call someone else who's in the data management business, builds data warehouses. And they said, Governor, we've looked at your state and there's 5 things that we need before we can come to Arkansas and do business. I've made notes on those 5 things. I turn it over to Mike Preston at AEDC. They put the information together, we recontact them, and we plant the seed. Arkansas is a good place to do business. And so we want to be able to continue to make sure we have an efficient education system, a competitive tax structure in Arkansas, that we want to grow our private sector of the economy more than the government sector of our economy. And we send the signal that we're going to do this in Arkansas, then all of a sudden people are going to be knocking down our doors to come to this state. And then there's a couple other things that's important in terms of job creation, and that is our workforce training. We have to have a skilled workforce in order to attract the industry that we need. And I'm delighted that the legislature responded to my request, and they've been working on it independently, but asking them to streamline our delivery of job skill education and to insist upon our state dollars going to our 2-year colleges that partner with our high schools and partner with industry to make sure we're doing job training that matches a skill with a job, and that our state dollars flow to those career centers that are accomplishing that purpose. And so we passed that legislation, and now comes the responsibility to implement it. And that's what we're working on as well. Now, there's been some jokes about I like to create task forces. Well, it's not a bad way to lead. Sometimes, you know, I didn't need a task force for lowering the income tax rate in Arkansas because I campaigned on that. I knew exactly what we needed to do in terms of leading in job skill education. Knew exactly what we needed to do in terms of computer coding in every high school in Arkansas. Those things you know instinctively, and you campaign on those and you implement those. And that was really the key of our legislative session. But in addition, though, I know that in the future that we're going to have better and more money going to our highways in this state. And to do that, we have to come together as a state to know exactly the right formula and the right way to approach it, and to build general support among higher education, general education, as well as the other parts of our state and the economic developers to know what is the right direction for our state in terms of highway funding. And we've got a declining stream of revenue for our highways. We've got to change the formula as some other states are doing, and that's why I convene a task force or a working group to accomplish this, because we need to build consensus. And the governor needs to lead, but we need to have people in the room to forge those compromises, to build the right plan, to come back to the legislature and implement. So I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that you can tell we've done a lot in a short amount of time, but there's a lot more to do. I've never been more excited about the economic opportunities of this state, and you're a key part of that. One of the things that I've seen a difference in the last 8 years particularly is the availability of capital structures in this state for venture capital, for startup businesses. And I've been very pleased that we've got more funds that have been set up in this state. Hopefully, your regulatory environment has freed up some investment money as well, but we've got more capital to help on the startup business in this state that are really necessary for the economic engines of the future as well. So those are some of the things that we're going to do. Let me end by just saying there's two things I admire about Ronald Reagan, who's one of my mentors in life that appointed me as U.S. Attorney many years ago. He was a consistent conservative, stuck with his values, win or lose. And secondly, he was an optimist about the future of America. I hope that I can share those qualities, consistency and philosophy, but also an optimism about the future of our country that's going to make a difference for the next generation. Thank you very much. I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to take a question. Y'all go ahead and sit down. You may just turn it back to you. And see, I can ask for questions since you're caught off guard and nobody has a question. But I couldn't see your faces very well while I was speaking with the lights, but if you've got a question, I'd be delighted to take that question. Or if you just got a comment and saying, well, Governor, you missed the mark here, you need to go a different direction.
If you have a question, please proceed to one of the microphones in the audience.
You know, hearing none, I'm delighted to be with you, and we will look forward to the next occasion. We appreciate your leadership.